Cimela, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I'm pronouncing that correctly, right?
Yes.
Cimela.
Yep.
How do you pronounce your last name?
Kidonakis.
Kidonakis. Okay. Not too hard. It just looks intimidating when you see it.
Yes.
Kidonakis. So you're Greek?
Yes. Half Greek.
Half Greek?
Yep. Half Greek, half Mexican.
Okay. Are you originally from Houston?
I grew up in Montgomery, Texas, which is north of Houston.
Okay.
Like in the country, they have like heifers and cows and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So did you grow up wrangling
No, I
cattle or
didn't. I
anything?
wish. I love farmers. I love salt of the earth people. But no, I just, my family, they really wanted to be in nature. And so there's a lot of land out there.
You're one of the filmmakers for Father Ryan's movie, Love God's Will. That's fantastic. How many of you were working on this project?
So it's myself, it's Jessie Hannapel, she's from Michigan, and then part-time we have a very creative person named Garrett McCall, and he's from Pennsylvania.
Y'all worked together on this for like over the past how long?
I've been working with Jessie Hannapel since 2015, so it's like 9 years. And Garrett I met in Medjugorje. He was signed up for our pilgrimage, and I met him in 2021, and we've been working together ever since. He's just so creative and an artist, and I love this team that came together. Like, it's so beautiful because we just all found each other in Medjugorje.
Have you always wanted to be a filmmaker growing up?
I mean, I think I never knew that was a possibility, but I loved video. I grew up like recording, especially because we'd go to Greece with my dad. Never left the shop. He was always working, but he wanted to make sure we knew our culture. So he would send my mom and myself, my sister, and my brother. So my mom would go with 3 kids to Greece. I loved Greece, and my dad never went. So it was kind of sad for us because he came from this amazing place that was my favorite place ever, and he wouldn't travel with us. And he would work so hard to get us there because it's expensive.
Yeah.
And so we would go with a video camera. And then I remember how that was gold. Like when we would record stuff, we would talk to my dad on camera and be like, "Father, you're missing this kuluri, like this cookie we're eating." And we would just talk to him on the camera. And when we'd come home, he loved watching it.
Oh,
so
wow.
the power of video, like the power of capturing from across the world and like bringing it back home.
So you were vlogging before it was vlogging.
Yeah. It was just so cool. And then I remember in high school, there was a video productions team, and we did the news. And I remember it like loving it so much. And then I went to the University of St. Thomas, and it was freshman year. I had no idea what I was going to do. Like, I didn't know what I was going to study. And my sister, she just was like, "You should do economics. That's very general. Like, just do econ." And we laugh about it now because I don't know how I ended up doing that first semester. But somebody was like, one of my classmates was saying they were in a video productions class. And I was like, "They have video production?" And so that's whenever I switched over, and I was like, "Okay, I'm doing video production."
So growing up, both of your parents they really wanted to instill the faith in you.
My mom did. My dad wasn't practicing, but my mom was very Catholic and devout because she's from Mexico. But she really grew in her faith when we did our first communion. So it's kind of nice because we grew together in the faith. But
Did you go to Catholic school?
I went to public school.
Okay.
So going to St. Thomas was a treat. I was like, wow, I'm going to get to go to Catholic school like when I went to college. So I was really excited for that experience, like to get to, oh my gosh, I remember being like really nervous about tests. I never liked school. Like school was so stressful for me. I remember getting a stomachache going to school because I was so nervous. And when you're at St. Thomas, I could be having a bad day or like really worried, and I could just pop into St. Basil Chapel, and it was just like my refuge. It was like peace. And then I started going to daily mass there. I never had experienced daily mass before, but because the chapel is just so like welcoming and it like has so much peace, it's all white in there, it's beautiful.
Yes.
I feel like it was just like such a cool thing to go to mass and pop in there.
So you guys specialize now pretty much in Catholic films.
Yes, and that's a crazy thing too, because I graduated college in 2009, and I was like, I remember telling my parents, I just want to do video production. And it was the year of the recession. So everybody was struggling to get a job. And so I remember I had a list of like 100 different video production local like companies.
Really?
And it was just like some were a little bit further away, but I would reach out to everyone, and I remember hearing back like, oh, we closed down, like we're not making it, or like, and I just remember just really trying. And one of my friends, Tom Mendes from college, he was like, you should go to a Rotary meeting. They always need video. So I went to this Rotary meeting, and it's this like organization that does a lot of service. And so I went there and I was just like, hi, like I do video production. Do you need my help? And they're like, you got to meet Albert. And Albert was in the meeting, and Albert had his own company. And so I was just like, Albert was like, I'd love to collaborate with you. So we ended up meeting a few times, and we did like a project together, and he was such a nice guy. He was young. And I remember like the third time we met, he was like, Cimela, this is going to be kind of strange, but I actually am going to go get my PhD up in Michigan. Do you want to like have my company? And I was just an LLC. It was already set up. He was like, I basically took out family loans to get this equipment. He was like, you would just have to pay off like a little bit of what's still left over.
Okay.
And so anyways, I ended up taking over that company. And so in 2009, I had my own company of video production. And so I never actually marketed. That's the craziest part. St. Thomas hired me, Rice University hired me. Like, I just always had work since 2009 on.
So it was just general video?
General videos, and I did stuff for ExxonMobil, which was awesome because they paid well. And I remember it wasn't that hard to do it. And so I would work really hard. I would work really hard on like the other projects, but then it became easier. Like with ExxonMobil, I remember I kind of had a pattern. And so when I finished that work, I had enough saved up to where I could do a workshop and like go and like really get to learn more to video production, because I knew I wasn't technically gifted. And at St. Thomas, you learn the basics. And really, my favorite thing about St. Thomas is the liberal education, like the liberal arts, and having like theology and philosophy and all of these classes that help me to know like what my purpose was. And so then whenever I really wanted to learn more, I followed these people online that they did little like free tutorials on YouTube. You can learn everything on YouTube. And I really thought they were so good. They were sponsored by Canon at the time, and the company was called Still Motion. So I reached out and I signed up for some workshops, and I went to Portland, Oregon, and I just learned so much at these workshops because it was really geared towards helping you with lighting and storytelling and like all of these different things that I didn't have enough knowledge about. And so I went there, and then they were working on this film that summer to enter into Sundance. And I just remember emailing them when I got home. My sister helped me, and we were just like, I would love to apprenticeship with you guys, because I felt like that was the best way to learn, is to go on location and just learn from the people making the movie. And so that was like my first taste into like making movies.
When did you decide, I want to go into Catholic filmmaking?
Yeah, so then I never thought I wanted to, because I remember watching Catholic movies and thinking that they were cheesy. And
Did you grow up Catholic?
I grew up Catholic. I'm cradle Catholic, but when I'd watch a movie that was Catholic, I wasn't watching the right ones, I think, but they just didn't feel like, some X-Men movie, or like it didn't feel exciting, right? So I just was like, I don't want to make cheesy movies. And also the thing is, my faith was always important, and I was like, I don't want to. It's almost like so much pressure, because our faith is so important, and we want to do it justice. We don't want to make something cheesy. And so I remember being like, I don't want to make cheesy movies. I'd rather just stick to storytelling. And back when I was in college, like my last year, senior, like the last semester, I went through this really crazy darkness. And I never had ever felt depressed, or like, I was such a joyful kid growing up. And I feel like everyone, like my nickname growing up was Smiley, because I was always smiling. And I just always had this joy in me, but I didn't know where it came from. It was just part of me. And then senior year of college, I don't know what triggered it, but something happened where I didn't feel God. And I didn't know what that felt like, because I always felt God there. It was like something that was just like I felt him. But then I get on a bus to Mexico because we were going to go visit family. And so this bus ride is like 12 hours long. And I just remember the heaviness of that darkness, like just feeling so alone in that bus. And there's so many people going to Mexico on the bus, but just feeling like truly alone in darkness. And when I tried to pray for it to go away, it would get even bigger. Like anytime I prayed, it would get even bigger and heavier. And so it was like really a hard thing for me. And it lasted for 3 months. I remember it being like so bad that I didn't want to get out of bed. And I was just like, I wasn't crying, but there was just water coming from my eyes. And I didn't understand what it was. And I thought, I need to have an exorcism. And I told my mom, I was like, I need an exorcism because I didn't know what it was.
Did you seek counseling?
Well, I didn't see counseling. I just sought my mom because my mom was kind of like always there for me. So I was just telling her, I was like, Mother, what should I do? Like, I and she was so worried about me because she never saw me like that. She didn't know what was going on. So I went to St. Michael's Church in Galleria area. And I remember my mom went and got the priest right away. And it was Father Leon. And Father Leon came over and I was crying at the time. And I was just like, Father Leon, I don't know what's going on. I feel like my faith is gone. And he was like, did somebody pass away? Like, did you lose... Like, were you dating someone and you broke up? And I was like, no one died. I don't have a boyfriend. Like, and he's like, how are your grades? And I was like, they're the best. Like, that semester I did really well. And he was just like, have you gone to see the doctor? And I was like, no. And he was like, please make an appointment because you don't know if your like chemicals are off or what.
Yeah.
So he was like, I'm going to pray for you. And I went to the doctor, and it was this amazing Jewish doctor that's like 80 plus years old. I love him so much. And I remember he did all the tests and he was like, you're completely healthy. And I was sad because I wanted to have a brain tumor or something. Like I wanted something to explain it. Something to explain it. And so obviously I didn't want a brain tumor. But I went and he met with me after he did all the tests. And that's why I love this doctor so much is Dr. Zimmerman. He had me in his office and he just talked to me for over an hour. Like just to see like, where am I? He's a geriatric doctor, so he does like older people, so he spends more time with people. And I think him like caring about me as a person and like sitting with me, and he goes, your faith is so important. Don't lose it. And obviously this is a Jewish man telling me this. Yeah. And he was just like, I don't want to prescribe you, anything for depression or anything. He's like, I don't think that you need it. I think that you, and he just told me like a lot of really good advice about like, what I could do, like little practical things to do. And he was like, you're very in your head. And because I was struggling so much with the faith thing, I just kept going in circles in my head about it. And he told me ways to get out of my head. And so, after those, obviously I had to go back to school. I had one more semester. And I remember just like still going to Mass, even though it was really hard for me. I never stopped going to Sunday Mass because I thought if the Eucharist is there, hopefully there's some radiation of goodness coming to me, even though it's really hard to pray. And so in 2009 on, I was really trying to get my faith back. And obviously I was going to Mass, but it wasn't the same. Like as growing up, it was so strong. Okay. I found out about this place called Medjugorje, and I remember thinking like, I have to go there. And it's a place in Bosnia-Herzegovina, and there's a small village there where during like in the 80s, there was 6 children who saw the Virgin Mary. And when I learned about Medjugorje, it was in 2015. So 2009 to 2015, I was struggling.
Wow, that's a long time to be in that darkness.
It was, but the 3 months was my biggest darkness. Obviously, I was functioning. I was like doing my work and doing stuff. But I even remember my sister calling, being like, while I was working for myself, I was my own boss. And I remember her calling, being like, Cimela, I'm going to daily Mass if you want to meet me. And I'd be like, oh no, I'm okay. Like, that's so crazy now when I look back, because daily Mass is what keeps me going. But I just remember that's where I was. I was just like, nah, I'm just gonna, keep editing. And whenever I learned about Medjugorje, it's like this light came on. I was like, wait, our Blessed Mother is here today. Because I grew up with Guadalupe and Lourdes and Fatima and like all of these things that happened in the past.
Yeah.
But I was like, no way. I was so skeptical. And the whole reason I found out about Medjugorje was because my friend Eduardo said there's this movie playing and it's only playing in one theater at this time. And it was like 11 p.m. showing in some sketchy theater in Houston. And he was like, I think you're going to like this movie. It's about our Blessed Mother. And I was like, I just remember thinking like, maybe I'll take my mom and it'll be a cool little mom and daughter thing. And at the last moment, my mom, she didn't feel good. And she was like really wanted to go, but she didn't feel good. And somehow I got in the car. I drove myself. I never even go to the movies by myself, but I drove myself to this sketchy theater and watched this movie called Tierra de Maria, which is Mary's Land. And it's half Spanish, half English, and it's about apparitions. And and it's a documentary. And at the very end, they talk about this place called Medjugorje where our Blessed Mother is appearing. And the first minutes, I'm like, this is so cheesy. It's a little guy on a Segway, and I was just like, I hate Catholic movies, like so cheesy. But then it got good. Then it was documentary style, where it's like people sharing true stories about their experiences. And I love that. I love when it's just true documentary style. And at the end of the movie, they talk about Medjugorje. And I was like, this is a documentary. Why are they making this up? I thought it was a lie. So after the movie, I go home and I go down a huge rabbit hole of Medjugorje. And I'm up till like 5 a.m. And I'm living with my sister's my roommate. She gets up to go to work and she's like, did you go to sleep? And I was like, Melissa, have you heard about Medjugorje? And she's like, and she was trying to remember if she heard of it. And I was like, this is crazy. And Bosnia-Herzegovina, and had mapped out how far it was from Greece because we go to Greece all the time. Okay. And I was like, I have to go there.
So what is it? What happened there?
Oh, so
in a nutshell.
Oh, in a nutshell, because it's a lot. But in the 80s, before the war, during communism, so this is like ex-Yugoslavia, there's these 6 children who are the ages, they're so little, like they're from 16 to 11, so they're like little. And they were going to, they just live in this small village, and all of a sudden they see a woman on the hill. And they don't even know Mary can appear. They never knew that because it's communism, so you can't really talk about religion. They didn't know about Lourdes and Fatima, and they were like, so they don't know who this lady is. But when they come and she talks with them, they realize she's the Mother of God. And they're just like, what? Why is the Mother of God not in heaven? Like, they're so confused. And so they go and they tell their family, and all their family is just like going, like Mariana shares, she's one of the visionaries, she shares it, she goes and she tells her grandma, and her grandma's like, go to your room and pray, because it's kind of a crazy thing to say something like that. And so it's communism time where you will go to jail for saying God. Like, you can't really say. And so all their faith is basically hidden. Like, they go and they pray their rosary every day. So they're very faithful people.
It's all underground. Yeah.
It's all underground. And so these children grow up having apparitions. And so all these people go there. It's one of the biggest pilgrimage sites. And although it's like not approved yet because it's still happening, the church has approved to take pilgrims there, and so priests can go and pilgrimage there. And so it's kind of a great thing that, you can go on pilgrimage and everything. It's basically a shrine. And so I just knew I had to go there. I felt in my heart that something was calling me there. And I don't think I've ever felt so strongly something like that. So, and people say that all the time about this place. And so I just really wanted to go, and I was telling all my friends about it. And so one of my college friends, she said, Cimela, I just got this email and you were talking about Medjugorje, and there's a video contest and you could win a free trip. If you just send in a video. And obviously I was doing video production, so I knew how to set up a video with the camera and lights and stuff. And so I made a video, but I was so nervous because I don't like being in front of the camera. And I remember making the video that I wanted to go to Medjugorje. But I had to go to Costa Rica because I had this really cool project with some other filmmaker friends, my Portland friends. They were doing something for Facebook. And I remember being so excited I got to tag on with them. And so I didn't submit the video. I was like too nervous to submit it, but my sister knew I made it, and so she submitted it.
Oh no.
Yeah, and so she sent it in, and it was like you had to post it on YouTube, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was mortified. I was like, oh, I don't want to, like, because you had to share about your faith, and I just was like,
Did she just post it without telling you?
She was like, she knew I had made it, and she knew about it, and so yeah, she posted, and then she told me, she's like, hey, I posted your video, and I was like just breathing heavy, like, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous, but whatever, who cares what people think, you know? So whenever I remember I got a message from the director, and he was like, hey, I watched your video. It was really well done. Usually people just do it on their phone. He was like, I saw your work. He was like, this is going to sound crazy, but what do you think about helping me make this movie in Medjugorje? Because the whole point was you would win a free trip, and they were going to pick 6 to 8 people to like journey with them and like film their experience there. And the director wanted to take atheists, he wanted to take people struggling with cancer, and just like a diverse group of people.
Okay.
And so he was like, what do you think about helping me with this movie? I was doing it alone, and I really need help. And really, that's my dream. I like to be behind the camera. So it was just a crazy thing. So we partnered up. We created this company called Stawaisz Films, and we went out to Medjugorje. And still, I didn't know what was gonna happen there to me. But they have this, visionary Mariana come to the hill sometimes. And she has an apparition in public. And that's so weird sounding, and it's a strange thing. But I would think back to like Lourdes and like St. Bernadette and like that. Like if you knew, the whole village would come out. St. Bernadette, like all of them would come and like be there. And I wanted to be like that. I wanted to be there if Our Lady was going to come down and like share a message. I wanted to be there
of course,
with St. Bernadette.
Yeah.
So Mariana's going to have her apparition, and everyone would camp out the night before because we knew it was happening this day, because Our Lady had told her I'm going to be there. Okay. And so we camped out. I camped out from 6 p.m. on this hill, all rocky. It's really rocky land. And from 6 p.m. until 8 a.m. the next morning. So the whole night you're just praying the rosary, you're talking with people on the hill. And there's hundreds and thousands of people on this hill. Like, you are not alone. You're just surrounded by people.
So it's like a festival type atmosphere, okay?
And very prayerful. So people are praying in all languages. There's so many different cultures there. Italian, there's a lot of Irish, Korean, people from Argentina. Like, seriously, name a country, they are on the hill praying in their language. So that's like so special to be in that environment. And so at 8 a.m. the next morning, I was getting my camera ready, and I remember being so conflicted. Like, does our Blessed Mother want me to film this? Like, I don't know. So I was feeling
if you just want to experience it,
or be in work mode, and I didn't want to be in work mode, but I also knew I was there to work. So I remember just hitting record, and it started doing weird stuff, and I was just like, why is the camera doing? It's never done this before, and it was glitching majorly. And then finally, right before the apparition happened, it was like fixed. And it was recording.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't pay attention to the camera. I just had it pointing in the right place. And I just closed my eyes. And I felt so much warmth all over my body, like physically. Physically, I felt this warmth, like almost like I could feel the blood inside my, like just this warmness within. And it was like as if like you're getting this intense hug from someone who loves you so much. And from that moment on, I knew I was supposed to be working there and bringing people there and sharing about it, because it like just, that was my moment where I felt like our Blessed Mother was always with me. Even in 2009 in my darkness, she was always there. And I had to wait for that moment for my faith to reignite and have her, like, I just felt her so strongly again. And it was a different faith than when I was a kid. This is a completely, because I had gone through all of that searching. And then it was like a different, more beautiful faith, I think, than whenever I was, just had it cradle Catholic.
Wow, that's fantastic. So this trip, it was covered, all the expenses and all of that?
Yes, everything was covered. But then I ended up putting a lot of like sweat equity because I made this movie, and Apparition Hill, it did so well in theaters. It was in over 200 theaters. And so this independent film, it just really took off. And I remember when we were working, I don't want to make cheesy movies. So the cool thing about this story was the director and I and Jesse was working on it too. We all didn't want to make cheesy movies. So it was very much documentary style where it's true. It's true stories. It's not about it's not propaganda about Medjugorje. It's like we took 2 atheists with us. What's going to happen to them? And that's real. That's like very raw. They're going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And we took a young mother with 4 children. She had stage 4 cancer.
Oh boy.
So that was really emotional. And so I think the movie really, she's the heart of the story when you watch it. And so I loved being able to be a part of that and seeing that my faith isn't cheesy and you can tell a good story. And really it's through stories that our faith grows. And like hearing Mariana, the visionary stories, like hearing her testimony, my faith has grown so much hearing her talk about the Blessed Mother and talk about how much love she has for us and how much love she has for priests. And so that's actually where my love and my prayer for shepherds, like all of our shepherds came. It was ignited in Medjugorje, where I realized they teach you there. They are the bridge for us. And our Blessed Mother puts herself under priests, which is crazy to think about. But she says the priests are Jesus on earth. And so she always says, if you have a chance to go to Mass or be at an apparition, go to Mass, go to the Eucharist, because that's her son. And so I just always, like when I pray the rosary, I always pray for all the priests that are so close to my heart. I pray for them. And so many vocation stories have come out of Medjugorje, and it's so cool because just like a few pilgrimages ago, when I was there was a young guy who was on the group with us. He's like 35, working at Yelp and really high up at Yelp. And he's there and he's praying and he's just like having this beautiful experience. And I remember thinking, he's such a cool guy. Like, I wonder what, our Blessed Mother has in store for him. Because anyone who goes there, she puts you to work.
Yeah.
And so a few months later, he reaches out to me and he's like, Cimela, I just want to let you know, I just entered seminary.
Wow.
And he's like, I heard God's call while I was on pilgrimage with you.
Wow. So this movie of yours, is it available online?
Yes, Apparition Hill is on iTunes, Google Play, Amazon Prime. And it's beautiful. Like, I just think it's a great way to learn about this place, but through the eyes of a very diverse crew of people because they all come from different backgrounds. And we made another movie called Cross Mountain that's young people going to Medjugorje. So it's a similar kind of way where we took young people, and you can see that free on YouTube.
So Apparition Hill and
Cross Mountain.
Cross Mountain. And Cross Mountain's on YouTube.
Yes, that one's on YouTube.
Okay.
And we just wanted to make that available to all the young people because it's really a bunch of young people who end up going there and really finding what is their purpose. And like one of those stories is Magnus, who does Mary's Meals, and it's the charity that feeds over 2 million children every day. And he went to Medjugorje when he was really young, like 13 or 14, and he basically was inspired to create this charity. And so it's all these like beautiful things and fruits that have come from Medjugorje.
That's cool. So you were talking about vocations, and have you ever thought of becoming a religious sister?
I would think about it sometimes, and I remember like I did, a silent retreat, and I think about it, but I don't know. I don't feel called to it right now. But I just always want to like support future priests somehow. And I remember feeling like all the priests in my life have helped me so much, like in my darkness, in my dark times, and in my formation, that I know that if I didn't have the priests in my life who are there, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. Like we need them so much to bring us the Eucharist, confession. Like confession to me, it has just, I don't know how people don't have the sacraments. Like it makes me sad sometimes because the sacraments saved my life. And I'm so thankful that the priest can help us and be part of our lives and journey with us.
So no one's ever told you would make a good sister? Huh?
No, actually I don't get that very often. I always get like, wow, you're doing so much for God. And they say, My good friend is like, I can't see you as a religious sister, but not in a bad way. Just like in the way that like I just do whatever I want all the time. I think they're afraid that I wouldn't like follow, like I don't know, maybe a plan.
The vow of obedience. Is
yes.
that what?
Yeah, I'm kind of always doing my own thing.
Well, we have had a sister on recently who said she thought she couldn't be obedient. Yeah.
I mean, I should keep praying about it. I got to be open to God's will in my life.
How did the whole thing with Father Ryan's movie come up to you?
Yeah, so every once in a while, my sister and I will go to daily mass together, and I would pop into St. Basil, which is I love that place because of college and everything. And so Father Richard was doing mass there one day because he's the vocations director. So he's constantly like hopping around, helping different priests and stuff. And so he would do Tuesday's mass there, and we would get so excited. Melissa and I would be like, "It's Father Richard, Tuesday mass." And so we'd go to mass because we just love his homilies so much. It's like he's really an amazing priest.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really know Father Richard except that I'd go to mass on Tuesdays and see him there. And so we were like, well, we should just, say hello and tell him who we are. And whenever I met him, I go, hey, Father Richard, I do documentary work. Like, I love to share with you some of our documentaries. And so I think I sent him the one, we did a true crime story about a priest that was murdered in St. Augustine, Florida. I think I shared that one with him and maybe Apparition Hill. And so
what was the title of that one?
That one's called Where There Is Darkness. Okay. And it was really a heavy project. It took 2 years. And that one's not out publicly yet, but we hope to get it out soon.
Okay.
But so he had just, I just go, this is what I do. And a few times later when I saw him, he was like, talk to me about it. And I remember back when it was like Father Ryan was a deacon. And he goes, Cimela, I know that you do video work. And he was like, I would love to do a day in the life of this Deacon Ryan. He's just so inspiring. And I really feel like we should have a little video of him. And I go, wow, like that's so cool. And I was just so excited that Father Richard was inspired by this seminarian. Like it's kind of cool to hear, priests be inspired by other religious people. And so I said, well, let's keep in touch about it. And I think he had asked Father Ryan or Deacon Ryan at the time, and Deacon Ryan did not love, being in front. He's so humble. He liked to be behind the scenes too and stuff. But he was going to think about it. And I think he was about to do chemo, and like, it was just really busy time.
Yeah.
And so that was the first time I heard of Deacon Ryan. And I think at the time I had heard he was sick. So, obviously so many people were praying for him.
Yeah.
Even not meeting him, there was a whole movement around praying for him. And so then a few years later, I run into Father Richard again, who was still talking about, but it was Father Ryan at the time. And I was working on the movie, I think I was working on Cross Mountain. And so it was like a really busy time. And he was like, do you have any like recommendations of who, can do this? And I remember giving him some recommendations, thinking like, oh, I'd love to work with Father Richard, just because I thought he was such a great priest. I was like, oh, I'd love to work with him. And I was sad to be like, we're so busy right now. But I just had so much going on. And then I saw him at Steps for Students, the 5K.
Okay.
And Father Richard was like, Cimela, it's still in my prayer. Like, I really feel like we should make something for Father Ryan, even if it's a 7-minute video for the website. That he just wanted a 7-minute video for the vocations website.
At this point, had Father
Ryan had passed away.
Okay.
And at that point, I was also more free. And actually, I was stepping away from Stellamar Films. I was leaving this company that I had been working with for 8 years. And that was a really hard time because I didn't know what was next. I was like, maybe I won't do videos anymore. I was kind of like ready.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I remember telling my mom, I was like, maybe I'll find a boyfriend. Like, maybe I'll have time for a personal life, because you get really into your stories and like, you really don't have that much of a personal life. And I remember just being like, maybe I'm not meant to do videos anymore. Like, those movies took so much out of us. Like, they each took 2 years. The Cross Mountain took 7 years because it was like overtime that we were filming the young people growing up.
Uh-huh.
And so I was kind of in a place where I didn't know what was next. And I really felt like at a crossroads, because I was leaving this company that we had built and put so much like life and energy into. And with with Jessie, she had just relocated to Houston and she wanted to work with me, and I was feeling a little bit stressed because I'm like, how are we going to make enough to support both of us? And then I wanted to also have Garrett come in and help sometimes creatively. And so when Father Richard asked us about this project, I was like, this is just what we need. A little video, to like get us, not a big movie, just a 7-minute video. We can do that. And so we start working on it, and not like that much after, it gets a whole life of its own. We just, we're trying to get to know Father Ryan. So he gave us this giant hard drive. I don't know how many terabytes it was of all the seminary stuff. Like everything, not just Father Ryan. It's like a ton of stuff. And we had to go and look through everything and find anything we could that had to do with Father Ryan's story. And we saw this basketball game, and it was filmed so good, like on the red Epic cameras, like just really high quality. It was crashing our computer stuff.
Oh, wow.
And so we were looking at all this footage, and there was this ordination of these 7 priests and Father Ryan up there. Yeah. And it was shot so beautifully. And I'm like, why have we never seen this? Like, this is amazing. And so we're looking at all this footage, and we're like, wow, I can't believe that we have been given this to like use and edit. And then we meet the Stawaisz family. They were our first interview. And it's emotional. I mean, Father Ryan just passed away like less than 2 years ago by the time we're filming. And it's so emotional. And I just remember it was like over 4 hours of just stories of Ryan and me, like just my heart growing every moment bigger and bigger. And
so at what point did you say, like, okay, this isn't going to be 7 minutes? Was it during that interview with the parents?
I think it was, yes, it was. Because Susan comes out with a box this big of home videos. And you guys know, I love home videos. I grew up on them, like with my dad.
Yeah.
So to me, the texture and the feeling that home videos has, it's just so real.
Yeah, the grittiness of the whole thing, yes.
So we digitized all of it, and we were seeing Father Ryan, and he was so cute, little kid. Oh my gosh, I love it. So we got so excited, and so I told Father Rich, I remember I like met him after Mass, because he's so busy. I knew I could meet him at the church, So we went to Mass, and I had a whole little portfolio, and I had and I was so nervous. I had so many people praying, because I was like, I have to get him to like this idea, And so it was like all this stuff and like a budget for it and everything. And Father Richard didn't have a huge budget for this. Like it was really small for this 7-minute project.
Yeah.
And even then we were just so excited to work with Father Richard. So it wasn't a big deal for us. We were just like, we'll put our heart into it. And so I had come up with this whole little booklet, and I gave it to him in the sacristy, and I was like, this is a holy place, like it's got to be good. And so we like looked at it, and he was just like, so excited that it was going to be bigger. Like he was very encouraging to us. And I was like, but don't worry. I know there's no funding, but we're going to crowdfund, because we had crowdfunded before. And I love it because you really get the community involved.
Yeah.
And they can follow in the journey. And then that way, when the movie does come out, you already have this whole crowd of people who were already part of the journey. And so I loved it because my friend Christy, she did this for, she has Every Sacred Sunday, the book. And one day we were having dinner, and this is why I love my friends and my support team. And I was telling them, like, I was really stressed because we were putting so much into this movie and we didn't have any funding. Like, we couldn't support ourselves, and it was like really hard. She's like, Cimela, you got to crowdfund. We all want to help. Like, all these people are going to want to help you. People who knew Father Ryan, they're going to want to help make this a good movie.
Yeah.
And so we crowdfunded, I think it was like $35,000, and that kept us going. And it took us a year. Father Richard was very encouraging, and we just were so excited to share the movie with him when it was like ready to be shared. And I remember he looked at it and he just had really good feedback. He was like, because he's really good at homilies, he's very good at story structure. And so, and we always want to like have people, collaborate, especially having a spiritual director on a project. And he was our spiritual director.
Yeah.
So he came in and he rearranged some things, and he like gave really good feedback, and all of his like stuff that he added into made the movie even better. And we were ready to show it to the family. And that was really stressful. And I was so nervous because they didn't know what we had done.
Oh, really?
They weren't.
So they still thought it was a 7-minute video.
They knew we had gone a little bit longer with it. But I didn't share any clips with them. We just wanted to share it with them when we were ready. Because it would have stressed us out if we were like, this is like almost ready.
Yeah.
So they had to just trust us. And so we went to Gabby and Ross's house. And that's Ross is Father Ryan's brother.
Yes.
And then Ross and Gabby are married. And we were sitting on their couch. We couldn't get it on the TV, so we're just sitting around the laptop. And the Stawaisz are there. And we just, I just remember feeling like watching them watch it and how much they were laughing and how much they were crying, but like joy crying, not like bad crying, like a good cry.
Yeah.
Like that they miss this person so much, but we're all, with him right now.
Yeah.
And the coolest thing was when the movie was over, you could tell they were very happy, but they said, what are we going to do? What's the next step? And they were just ready to write down the next thing. So they joined our team. We didn't have anybody. We didn't know what was next. We just poured our heart into this movie thinking like maybe we'll have a screening for Prince of Peace, Like, we didn't know. And when they were willing to help us, it just changed everything. Wow. And the Stawaisz family is like an answered prayer to me, and Father Ryan is an answered prayer, this project, because I didn't know what was next. And Father Ryan came into this time in my life where I needed peace, and I got to spend a whole year with him. And he just helped bring so much peace to my life. And I feel like I'm at a point now where I've never felt like this before. I've never been proud of any project I was a part of. Yes, I will promote Apparition Hill and Cross Mountain because I want people to know about Medjugorje, but I feel like there's things in those movies that I still feel like, ugh. But with Father Ryan's film, I want everyone to see it, and I will tell anybody, and I am proud of it because Father Ryan's story touched my heart so deeply. And I just know that people, if it did that to me, that it will hopefully help someone else. And so I just feel like as a creative person, we're always really hardcore. We're always harsh critics. Anything we do, we can find mistakes. And yeah, you would know. It feels so good to have to been a part of something creative that you're proud of. I mean, I've never felt like that before.
Wow.
And I feel very blessed, and we've been sharing this movie, and it's been in over 50 theaters, and most of them are sold out. And when you go to the theaters these days, there's it's never sold out.
Yeah.
And to be like surrounded by people with no distractions and hear Father Ryan speak to your heart and speak to your soul about uniting our suffering to Christ, it's an experience. And I think like seeing the people come out of theaters, hearing people crying while they're watching the movie. I mean, we only cry when something really gets our heart.
Oh, yeah.
So I think just seeing all of that has just encouraged us to keep trying to share stories and finding those stories that we need, not to quit. And I wanted to quit and not to quit, because if God's will, we have to learn to love God's will in our life, no matter how hard it is, how much you sacrifice. We have to learn to love God's will and do it with joy, as Father Ryan did.
Now, you said something earlier, like being with Father Ryan. What was that like? Can you explain like being with Father Ryan? Is it because you went through all of those videos?
Yeah, I loved it so much. And my mom always like laughs about it because we were actually my mom was cooking for us every meal. Like my parents truly supported us through the making of that movie. And she would, at 3 a.m., she'd hear us editing, and she would be like, guys, are you going to go to bed? And we're like, no, we're with Father Ryan. And she's like, okay. Like she was so happy, but there was so much grace that came to our family through Father Ryan because we're listening to all his homilies over and over again. We're trying to find the pieces.
Yeah.
We're watching, just people talk about him, and just all the clips that we had of Father Ryan. His wisdom and his love is like just seeping in. And I explain it like, they always say you're your 5 best friends, like whoever you're hanging out with, that's, it says a lot about, what you are and how you see things. So if I'm hanging out with Father Ryan all the time, every day, nights, And like, I mean, it took us a year to work on this. Father Ryan is just with me, and his attitude and the way he sees things and his wisdom. And there will be moments where I was struggling with something and Father Ryan would say something and it was direct to my heart.
Wow, in the videos, he'd say something.
And it was so cool. And we're constantly praying too because we want to do a good job. And I remember one day Garrett and I were working. Garrett would fly in from Pennsylvania and we were working on this scene that's like one of the scenes that's the biggest scene in the movie that's really emotional. And it's a reenactment. And we were working on it and we didn't have the right song for it. We couldn't find the right song. And it was really important when you match up an emotional moment with the song.
Yes.
And so my mom's going to mass and she's like, I'm praying for you right now. And she said like she was praying during the consecration for us during that. And as soon as she comes back, we're like, we found the song. And when we dropped it in, it was like in the perfect, because you always have to like move
timing,
the song.
Yeah.
No, it was perfect. It was like God, the Holy Spirit, and everything. And I really feel like that's one of everyone's favorite parts in the movie. And
that's funny, yeah, because sometimes you're like, oh, we have to re-edit it to make it fit, the crescendo and what have you. And so it just fit perfectly.
It was all these little miracles. And I think my other favorite thing about this project is that it has so much of Father Ryan in it. And Father Richard and I were talking about that. There's all these, movies about saints and like feature films and stuff like that, or with actors. And it's like this one's so unique because we have so much video footage of Father Ryan. Because of COVID, we have his homilies recorded. Like that's so unique to have his wisdom, his Good Friday homily recorded and being able to use that. And that it just so happened that they had recorded that basketball game.
Yes.
And how like much energy and that win for the seminarians, like that was a big thing. They had been working so hard. The seminarians hadn't won in so many years. Like Father David Michael Moses talks about how much they wanted to win.
Yes.
And then having the ordination of the Magnificent Seven, as Miss Stawaisz says, Susan says, there's 7 of them. That's kind of unique.
Yeah,
like sometimes there's 3 or 4, but 7. And all of this stuff was just on hard drives. No one had ever seen it. It was just tucked away.
Wow.
And even when you think about if they would have launched that ordination, maybe it wouldn't have had that big of an impact besides the 7, which is beautiful.
Yes.
But to actually follow Father Ryan's story and to follow him in this journey, and then he's ordained, like it means so much more. And I think like that's what's so cool about this project is that it was God's timing and it was supposed to happen.
And then you had all that video footage from the parents too.
Yeah, Susan.
How much did you have to go through?
Susan always says like her big dinosaur camera, because back then it's not like you're just recording on your phone. It's like you're
the big VHS camera.
You gotta like have all these little, she knew the technical things and knew how to do it. But yeah, like going through all of that. And
how much was it? Like how many hours of footage?
Man. I feel like it was like maybe if you lined it all in a timeline, it was like maybe 70 plus hours, but you even have to organize it.
Of course, yeah.
And so like going through, and some of it's not usable because it's like over time it gets bad. But there's some really beautiful moments, and it really led us to know who the Stawaisz family was. And so secretly, I wanted to be their friends. I wanted to be their friends because I spent so much time with them.
Yeah.
But that's what happens like with our documentaries. We get really close with the people we're working with. But the thing is, they don't know me. They don't know my story. They don't watch me every day. So when they wanted to link up with us and help us, it was a dream come true because I was like, they're my friends now. Like we're really truly
those are
friends.
personal moments that they're sharing with you. Yeah, I mean, a lot of home videos, people take them not thinking that they're going to share it with other people.
Yeah, and there's really cute little moments in there. Like they would have birthday cakes for Jesus's birthday. Like I remember Ryan, they were singing Happy Birthday, and there's a cake, and there's little things like that you can do at home that really help our faith when we're children. Like it helps us to grow. And so it's like they would do things like that. They would pray the rosary on Sunday. You could see like how their faith was part of their life. But I love so much Father Ryan's story because it really wasn't until college that he heard God's call.
Yeah.
And those seeds that were planted, they were so important. But it's really when we have a personal encounter with God that we can hear what is God's call for us. And for me in Medjugorje, that was my time when I realized that I was supposed to be doing this, that this was my work that God wanted me to do. And I found so much joy in it. And that's the coolest thing, is that sometimes we might be like, is that God's will? And we might be like, nah, I don't think so. But it's that we're going to be the most joyful when we're doing God's will in our life. And I'm very joyful to get to share this movie.
At this point, you probably know Father Ryan better than people who actually knew him. Because he was at our parish, and we knew Father Ryan, but you've seen all of these videos and all, you've gone through his, the family life and everything. Yeah. Wow.
I do think sometimes when people ask me like, oh, how did you know Father Ryan? I get a little bit sad because I'm like, I can't say that I knew him in person, but I do feel like he's so present to me more than if I probably just happened to go to a mass or something with him, because it's like you said, I've seen him grow up and I've seen all this footage of him and I've studied it over and over. It wasn't that I heard his homily one time. I've heard it probably 50 times.
Yeah, you had to dissect it. Yeah,
pretty much. And I've had to find different pieces, and I have his voice like in me, and Jesse and I can word for word. My mom, because she's watched it so much, she can word for word Father Ryan. But it's a blessing to have spent so much time with him, and for him to have revealed who he was to me. I pray all the time. I ask him for things like with this project and with like my personal life. And I really truly feel he's listening. And it's so beautiful when you can pray and you feel like God is listening, and you feel like these saints that you gravitate towards are helping you. And so Father Ryan is so real to me. He's such a presence in my life today, even though he's not physically with us. I always, he's just always a part of my life.
What's the whole experience of the movie, releasing the movie?
Yeah.
Did you expect to have this kind of response where it's sold out after sold out after sold out showing?
No, and Jessie always reminds me, she's like, Cimela, remember when your dream was to have 10 showings in Houston for Lent? And I really feel like it was a big dream. I was like, I don't really think it's going to happen, but that's what a dream is. You just dream, And, and I said, just 10 showings like around Houston. I would love it because it's expensive to rent a theater. It's like $2,000 to rent it. And we didn't have a budget for that. And so it's just been so incredible how much it's picked up and how fast it's been growing. And so the first showings that we did, the Scanlon Foundation donated to us. We had Candace Terrell and her family donate, and all these people would come out of the theater and a new person would host a screening. And so it just kept adding and adding to where we had 40 screenings during Lent. And just that first weeks that we were set up, and then it would go into Easter. We didn't think we were going to go into Easter. And people think like here, it's a big impact. I feel like anytime we take this outside of Houston, the reaction is even bigger. Like people will want to share. They have so much there's more Q&A. People will want to share so much. And I don't know what it is, but it's like Bishop Gary, who's in San Antonio, he was a huge fan of this. He sent a whole recording about why people should come and watch this. And so we tagged it on to the end of the movie for their San Antonio showings. And they're all sold out in May. And so it's been doing so much bigger. I feel like the splash is even bigger when I was in Pennsylvania, like the reaction of all the people. And I'm going to Michigan on Sunday. Wait, is that tomorrow? Yeah, tomorrow.
You've got so much going on.
There's just a lot going on. But yeah, so there's just a ton of screenings happening, and it's just nothing we could have ever imagined. But I would say a big reason and a big help is the Stawaisz family. I mean, having them be at the showings is just such a unique experience after. Oh, yeah. And Gabby, she's so organized, and she has 2 small babies. She has Ryan, and she has Teresa, and Teresa just turned 1. And she was like, I'm a mom, but I'm going to spend every moment I have helping. And so she's been working with all these screening hosts. And so I just feel like we could not have done it with our small team, and having Gabby step in. And then we have other volunteers like Miranda and all these people who have just seen the movie and like chosen to volunteer their time.
Wow. So people just go up to you and say, hey, we want to help.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
I mean, it's the most beautiful thing. And then Gabby's mom, Veronica, she's the one in San Antonio, and she's leading leading the charge in San Antonio. And then we have a friend, Katie Nowitzki. She's leading the charge in Dallas.
Wow.
And so we have people volunteering in all these different places to get Father Ryan's message out.
Okay, now I heard something about the Vatican at some point.
Oh, yeah. So it was really cool because Brother Bernardo, he's up in Rome and he's part of the Legionaries. And Gabby has a good relationship with them up there. And so they were able to do a screening with all the seminarians. Wow. And it's really cool because they said it hit different, because they're in it. So it's definitely something we want to get to more seminaries and we want to get it to more schools and stuff like that. But something really cool happened in Grapevine, Texas when we were in the Dallas showings. This production company, this distribution company, they came out, and I know Tony a little bit through Medjugorje. He's one of the people from this Believe group. And Carrie, he's done Nefarious, which I'm a huge fan of that movie. I love it. And it's a Catholic movie, and it's really good. It's kind of like the Screw Tape Letters. It's very well done, and it's streaming now.
Okay.
But he did Nefarious, and he did Unplanned and God's Not Dead. And so I loved, their work and stuff. And they came to watch the movie. And they came out of the screening just saying, that was a movie. And we want to help you.
Wow.
And so they're going to help us distribute this movie.
That's fantastic.
And as independent filmmakers, we can't do that. We can only do grassroots so much. We can only get so far with grassroots.
Yeah.
And then we need someone to help us with connections.
Yeah.
And so they want to help get us into theaters across the nation. And we're just, we never expected any of this. And we're just, all these volunteers who've just come to help us. And that's why we're here showing it in May and having all these different showings coming up and out of state. And now it's so much on our shoulders and so much. And I love what Carrie said. He's the one who works for this company. He was like, you need to be creating more projects. We need to help you take care of getting this out. Because we've had to turn to marketing, and really we're storytellers. And so we have to learn all these different things, and it takes up a lot of time. And he's like, you need to be working on your next project.
And have somebody else take care of the distribution and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, we did our best. We put our heart into it, and now let us take this and let us take it out. And you guys work on the next project. And so I love so much how many people have come to help us. And really, it's just whatever God wants for this project, we want to make sure we're doing what we can to get it out.
Father Richard mentioned, he kind of dropped something during his interview that there may be an extended version of the film. Because I'm thinking, okay, that would be fantastic. Because I saw Lord of the Rings in the theater, the theatrical version.
Yeah.
But then when the extended version came out, I love them both.
Oh my gosh.
So
I can tell you I already like the extended version better of this movie. And I actually get a little sad when we're showing the 57-minute one because I'm like, it's missing all these parts that we added in. But because we're going to get with the opportunity to get official distribution, the movie has to be longer. The requirement is at least 70 minutes. So they were telling us, we have to extend it if you can, try to put whatever you can. But that doesn't change the movie because we don't want to mess it up.
Yes.
So even the credits, we extended it a little bit. It's kind of like when you write a paper and you're trying to put extra spaces and kind of thing like
but
that.
I think, the my experience with Lord of the Rings was, I think if I had seen the extended version first, I might not have accepted it the way that I did. So I like that you guys are distributing the 57-minute version first.
Yes.
Because I'll definitely watch the other one too.
Yeah, that is a good point. Yeah, I didn't think about that. But it's a taste, and what they told us, Carrie and Tony were like, this, the length you have it, you want more. You leave wanting more.
Yes.
And so he's like, if you can add a little bit, but still, you don't want it to be too much. But the stories that we added in, I always wanted them to be in the movie, but we also wanted to keep it shorter. And now we extended and we did some more research. And then actually with the story coming out, we heard more stories. Yes. And so we really wanted to get young people in it. So we interviewed some altar servers who got to actually be at Mass with him. And so hearing from 14-year-olds, that was missing. That voice was missing. So I think it's cool to hear from the younger generation to talk about Father Ryan. But there's this really cool scene in the movie that's being added, and it's this beautiful story, and it's a miracle that Father Ryan shares on the pulpit. It's during his homily, but we were able to like follow up a little bit on it and just film enough to where it shows images that I think really lets you be a part of it.
So is that still in the works, or? We're
still tweaking and we're still adding, but we're hoping that we'll be done in the next few weeks and it'll be ready to go for wherever it needs to go.
That is so cool. You got to keep us updated on that so we can send the word out when everything comes out, like national distribution and all of that. That's fantastic.
I'm just praying it'll all just, get to where it needs to go. And I'm very excited that we have people helping us because we can't do it. We're too little. We're too small of a team.
It's crazy. Now, you said something to Herm earlier before the interview because he hadn't seen the movie. I'd seen the movie, but you said something to him that you've got to see it in the theater.
Yes. I think it's so important to see it in the theater because it's a neutral ground. So you can invite your coworkers, you can invite, people who aren't really Catholic. Just invite them to see this film. And when you have no distractions, I feel like our society now and everything, we have distractions. We have our phone with us at all times. Even when we're in a meeting at lunch or something, our phone is right there beeping. But when you go into the theater, the surround sound, like you are not going to miss a word. You have the visual in front of you and you have no distractions and it's just Father Ryan just right to your soul.
Oh, I don't want to give too much away, but when his face is up on the screen and he says something and it's you're in that big theater, that hit me. That one really, that one hit differently than if it were in a small screen, if I was watching it on a tablet or on a phone or on the,
So many people are like, can I have a private screener for whatever, and we're just like, we want you to show it in the theater. And it's so cool too, because think about if you send out this private link, or let's say we went streaming, because people are like, why are you not streaming? We want everyone to see it. And it's like, who is everyone? The little people who've heard of it? Like, our world is so big.
Yeah.
And when you show it in a theater, we have people walk in and they're like, what is this? They're watching something else and they'll come and they'll want to know about this movie.
Yes.
And when one person hosts the movie, they have to fill 200 seats. Otherwise, if you have a link, you're going to share it and maybe two people or one people. It's not going to get a big impact. Yeah. But so that's why this distribution is so important, because the more people who know about it, then a parishioner might bring it to their parish in Ohio, or like somebody might bring it to their school in Nebraska. And so then it's like it becomes a bigger thing. And then, I don't know, but I think Father Ryan's going to be a saint.
We were talking about that with his parents in their interview and with Father Richard. I feel it too.
I know people don't like to say things like that, but for me, I'm like, he's helped me so much that I'm like, I just feel like in heaven, it's like St. Therese. He's like, I'm going to keep working from heaven, and I'm going to keep doing my mission. And I just feel like this is part of Father Ryan's mission. And I love what Father Richard says at the end of the movie. He's like, Father Ryan would not have wanted a movie made about him. Like, if people who knew Ryan, he would not have wanted to be center of attention.
He was so low-key, that's why. When he was at our parish, he was just, very quiet, but he was doing great things.
Yes. But he says, but if it was going to lead people to Christ, he would have been all in. And I know that that's how it is. Like, even just that this movie came out after he passed away, I feel like we had more to work with because of the emotion of him leaving, like that, the impact of what he's left behind. Like, the movie had to come out now, even though it was going to be 7 minutes. Like, all of this had to be now, and it just feels like it's all God's plan.
Thank you so much for all the work that you put in the movie and for, getting it out there. I mean, we wish you the best, and we hope to hear more great things about the film.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, this is so exciting.
Yes. Father Ryan, pray for us.
Pray for us.